in my notes. But welcome everyone today and to the YMCA Trinity. I guess it was our own opportunity area funded breakfast session that we were going to have that we put onto online. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the YMCA, which you may or may not know, that we are a registered charity and we hold the Trusted Charity mark. So we've been rigorously assessed in terms of how we use our charity status and the actions that we are taking in our day-to-day lives to be helpful to our society. And we do that. Brilliant. Hello. Just arrived on time. That's fantastic, Libby. Welcome. Hi. I was just introducing ourselves as YMCA and talking a little bit about the Trusted Charity mark, which we're really proud of, and we received that this year, so that's great. And there's only a couple of you here today, Libby, so please feel free to interrupt, ask questions. The other two people that are here are Sakina, who is our project coordinator and holds our training team together, and Alistair, who's the clinical mental health services clinical lead as well. So we're all here to answer questions on what we do. And we're here specifically to talk about the pot of funding that we've been given by the Opportunity Area Fund to provide training and education for settings in East Cambs and Fenland and in Peterborough. But yeah, so one of the reasons to work with us, or for us to work with you, is that we are a charity. So whatever work we do ripples out through the schools and the environments that you work in, but also through our own accommodation and work that we do with the young people who need our help as well. So the Opportunity Area itself was developed and set up by the government when they discovered pockets around the country that were particularly disaffected and disadvantaged. And the aim is to increase the social mobility of the young people in those areas by building their confidence, by helping identify their social, emotional and mental needs, and by supporting the staff that work closely with them. Cambridge is a really interesting area actually in part of the country, partly because of its geographic size, if you include Cambridge, Antrim and Peterborough, but also partly from the spread of economic and social status that there is across the country, from real deprivation and poverty in pockets of areas of Peterborough, Huntingdon and Wisbech, to actually quite a well-off, high-achieving business sector in terms of the genomic work that goes on and the computer work and so on, technology side of it. So that can highlight for young people who are struggling, who are disadvantaged, for them actually how, it makes it much more uneven for them. And by working with the schools in those pockets of deprivation, we're able to help build a positive culture really of well-being, in a sense that achievement can be made, that life can be different. And it helps support the identification and requirements of the green paper that was written for transforming children and young people's mental health provision. So we support, the Opportunity Area supports a range of programs from literacy, supporting teacher training, post-16 options and career advice. And the YMCA, we come in terms of supporting the staff and the young people who are working with the young people, as well as the young people directly. But actually the funding we have is only to support the staff that work closely with young people. So we've been running this since 2017. There's been, I think we're on wave 4 now. It was last extended in last year to allow bookings to be made up until December, the end of this year, and for the training to take place up until the end of the summer term in 2023. And like I've said, it's expanded out to Peterborough, and it's also expanded out to youth organisations. So actually we can offer training to staff and volunteers in a wider range of settings, including football clubs, scouts, local drama groups, whichever group it would like to actually access some training for their staff and some volunteers. So the funding is capped. It's £3,000 for a primary school and between 5,000 and 6,000 for secondaries, depending on how large the school is. And we just need the bookings to be made by the 31st of December this year. And then as long as we run the training before the end of the summer term next year, that's absolutely fine. So we've got a bit more scope and flexibility to be able to offer either whole school trainings for yourself. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute, or for funded places that are open courses to be attended. So in terms of the YMCA and our ethos, like I mentioned, we are a trusted charity, but really what we're about is a whole setting approach. We're about fully integrating mental health into day-to-day work life and day-to-day life, full stop, actually, so that it's not an add-on or something that seems to be extra, but it is considered in how we do what we do. And part of our training is about being evidence-based and about being practical, so that we can actually use it. It doesn't remain an academic theory. It becomes part of how we work. As part of that, we would think of ourselves very much as on hand to support anyone who's done our courses with queries, questions, things that come up at a later date, and would really think in detail about how to tailor training to specific needs, because actually sometimes training can be a bit generic, and each school and each setting is unique. So if we can make it really relevant to your staff and the particular issues that you're facing at that time, then we will, without a doubt. I think it's really important that we see it as mental health is so unique and individual for everyone. And that's what we want to reflect in our training. And leave people feeling really confident, you know, feeling less scared of mental health as a term, and feeling have more understanding of how mental health and physical health are all, you know, a whole body approach as well, so that they feel equipped to be able to work with the children in front of them. So you may well have seen this before. We have a training competency framework, and all the courses we offer sit within these 3 stages. Now, the framework was developed alongside Cambridgeshire County Council and the NHS and CAMH. And actually it ties in quite nicely to this Thrive framework in terms of need. So we're looking at the core, or the stage 1 courses, very much tying into, you know, the generic need, the basic foundation of information that is useful to all of us. So tier 1 we're sitting at. And that would be things like our staff wellbeing course or our introduction to mental health, that really just help educate everybody in a setting so that you're all starting from the same perspective. I think it is the best way to describe it. And that can be from people that are working in the kitchen, the dinner ladies, to anybody, the head teacher. So it's your whole school. The enhanced section is for those people that are alongside children and young people day to day. So the teachers, the TAs, playground assistants, those people that are having sort of hands-on conversations with people. And it just raises that level of knowledge. It highlights some specific challenges that they might face. And the courses, I'll talk more about our courses individually in a minute, but they're kind of a bit more of a deeper understanding, and will have many more actual skills that can be applied and used in a range of situations. And then the targeted courses, we kind of had 2 sets. One is a train the trainer set of courses where, you know, it's about cascading, having one person in your school that can cascade that information and spread it out across, you know, all of the staffing team. Welcome. Please do join us. I can catch up with anything that you've missed earlier on later, if you see what I mean. But welcome. Thanks for coming. And so we have the train the trainer. And then we also have just some skills enhancements for senior leaders. So in this section, we have the reflective supervision skills. We have helping people learn to deliver workshops to parents rather than students. It's of course students and parents, but actually it's that shifting away from a teaching a class to running a workshop. So we have those 3 stages to meet the individual staff's needs and what your school needs. And what's really useful is there is available online a framework that you can use to kind of assess where you're at as a school as well, to help you reflect and see where the gaps are and your mental health approaches. And from there, once you know where the gaps are, you can take those steps forward to fill them. And that's available online. I think we can send the link out to that. Actually, I don't think I've got it here for anyone to use in the county. So I've started to touch on these. These are the whole settings, the core courses that we offer. So the Introduction to Mental Health, which really talks about what it is in life that gives us positive or good, for want of a better word, or resilient mental health, is better, and what the challenges are that perhaps will make mental health more difficult for individuals as they grow older, and how we can work with those things. And this also includes our staff wellbeing workshop as well. So really important for everybody to hold in mind that we have to look after our own mental health to be able to look after the mental health of other people. And then on top of that, we do have these bespoke assemblies. We have a World Mental Health Week assembly that we've written and want to share out with people that work with us, that's coming up at the moment. Alistair, I know, knows a lot more about that. I'm afraid I don't know. Do you know the dates, Alistair, of when that's?
So the World Mental Health Day is the 10th of October, which is a Monday. And I think the resources, if schools have requested resources, then they'll be going out to you probably this week. If you don't know about our resources, you can find us on Twitter. You can follow a post on there, just click the likes, and we'll send in those resources straight out to any schools. Alternatively, if you're not Twitter users, please feel free to email us in, and we'll happily get those resources out to you. So we've got a primary and a secondary school option for those assemblies.
Cool, thank you. There we
No
go.
problem.
I love that. That was very smoothly linking into Twitter and social media as well. I think that was brilliant. Okay, so we've got the core courses and then we've got the enhanced courses, and most of these courses are 2 hours. I think there's one that's 3 hours. And these are, like I said, the courses for the staff that are working directly with young people. And our philosophy behind these courses is to both increase staff's understanding of what is going on for that young person. What is that behaviour telling them about where that young person is at? Incorporating the increasing new knowledge about trauma, significant life events, and how that affects our brain, how it affects both the sort of overall brain development, but also our ability to manage or cope with a situation in the moment. And that philosophy runs underneath all of our training. And with that in mind, we also encourage staff to think about whether or not it's relevant to them and how their life experiences might be interacting with the behavior or the child, and how I think it's not just about looking at a child and solving a child. We're very much focused on that idea of a relationship and how our relationships help teach the skills that young people and children need to do well in life and to cope with the world. Actually, sometimes it's just coping, isn't it? So we've renamed them. We have Understanding Behaviour as Communication. This used to be called Managing Challenging Behaviour, but we've come to the conclusion, alongside many other people, that actually it's not helpful to see the behaviour as the child and the child as the challenge, because it creates a whole set of beliefs about somebody being difficult. And actually, when you can flip it on its head and realise that, this is behaviour that I find hard to manage for whatever reason. And it might be that I find it hard to manage because I don't have the skills, or because of my own life, or just because it's really unusual and it's something that's very new. But it turns it into a little bit, encourages a curiosity around it, rather than focusing on a sense that a child is doing it on purpose. And in a similar vein, the Understanding Behaviour through the Lens of Trauma used to be called Classroom Strategies for Mental Health. And again, we flipped it on its head, because actually we use the word trauma, but any child will have life experiences that affect how they behave and what they do on a day-to-day level. And understanding that behaviour through how set of knowledge about how our nervous system reacts in a situation can really help us have a wider kit of tools to help de-escalate, to help restructure, to help refocus. And that trainer also brings in a level of understanding about attachment as well. So that idea about the relationship, particularly at primary school, how the relationship between the teachers and the child can be helpful or sometimes unhelpful. Actually, we look at both. Sometimes, an individual teacher is not the right person to be dealing with that situation. And that's when working as a team and calling on colleagues is a wonderful thing, that's what's great about it. We've got our attachment, which is traditional, that has stayed, looking at the role of relationships and early life relationships, young people, and how that plays out within a learning environment. And then we've got a series of workshops that are less focused directly on the child, but more on the wider, softer skills that teachers need to have nowadays. So looking at how to build a really collaborative relationship with a parent, both over time, but also in a moment, because sometimes it's harder talking to parents than it is talking to children. Some people will find it, some people are excellent at it. I mean, I don't know about you, I've been on both sides, both a parent of a child and trying to work with parents, and it's not always straightforward. And then also you've got along that the idea of working as a multidisciplinary team, and actually we touched on earlier, it's like the idea of safeguarding. How do we keep the children in the focus of our heads, a child in mind, in the middle of all of the other dynamics that are going on around, with the pressures of time, of budget, of who can do what, of expertise. So that's what How to Have Conversations That Keeps the Child in Mind is about. It's about really safeguarding that child, having them in the room while you're planning what's going on for them, or trying to contact and encourage other agencies to get involved, and so on. And then the How to Have Difficult Conversations picks up some of the themes of the collaborative relationships, but it focuses more on how to speak. We focus it mostly on adults, but I guess a little bit on teenagers as well. To be fair, late teens would be similar. How to raise those subjects that are challenging, like talking with a parent about safeguarding issue, or challenging racism, or picking up and managing somebody who is slightly aggressive or who is so passive and removed from working with you. So it's more about the conversations where the topics can be difficult, and looking at the skills and the practical strategies around what you can use to help you feel more empowered to be able to challenge somebody when they're being, the behavior is not okay, or when you have to give them some bad news, when you have to safeguard their child to protect them, and that they love that child to pieces. They're just not getting it, doing it okay. They're not parenting okay. And we also have our mental health awareness for managers, and that's a 3-hour course, and that very much builds on, I guess, the staff wellbeing course in the core section, where it is just really opening out that idea of how, as a manager, you can look at what are the signs that a staff member might be struggling, and the ideas of what you can do to support them and help them. And it ties in as well the recent government paper, which has totally gone out of my brain. So I can't tell you which one it is, but if you want to know, drop me an email and I will look it up. Okay, so this is the last slide on courses. We have a series of 1, 2, and 3 day courses. So the Train the Trainer, the Mental Health Champions, is our 3-day one, and that's where we train one of your staff members to deliver 6 workshops on a range of different topics covering suicide and self-harm, anxiety and depression, body confidence, sexual health, risk-taking, and resilience. So that's where actually you can continue to cascade that information across your school, and the funding covers a license, which means you can use those materials for a year. We offer support as well throughout that, refresher day trainings, and peer support groups, of which there is one next week, I think on the 11th. So there's that. We have a 2-day 1-day mentoring course where we help adults just pick up those skills like reflective listening, goal setting. It's motivational interviewing and solution focused based skills. So it's a 1-day course on the mentoring. And the other 1-day course we run is for delivering parent and student workshops. So looking at that idea of how you can use your knowledge and share that with your parents that you're working with in. And the challenges, the differences between teaching in a school and doing a workshop. So explore that in there. And then the reflective supervision skills, it's for the senior leaders. So it's those of you in schools that will be mentoring and supervising and line managing staff. And it's
I would say we brought in the supervision for our pupil support officers.
Oh, brilliant.
and it's been really well received. So I'd highly recommend this one.
Excellent. And did you do the course with us?
Weren't we, about whether you wanted to do it again?
Yeah, and hold on. Sorry, what did you ask me?
Did you do the reflective supervision skills with us?
I just brought you in to deliver it to my.
You brought our therapist in. Lovely. Okay.
Yeah, just basically so that they've got someone to offload.
Yeah.
The enormous things they have to deal with, and they really like it and want to renew the provision.
Brilliant. Oh, that's great. And actually, I'll finish this slideshow in a minute. Perhaps we have more of a discussion, because I haven't been able to introduce you yet. So Alistair and Sukaina are both parts of the mental health training team. And Alistair is our clinical lead who heads up the mental health services side, which organises the supervisors coming into schools and all of that side of it. So I'll get a chance to explore that. And I think if you wanted to, say in a secondary school or a much larger school, have someone who had those reflective skills. So this reflective supervision, it's not about a clinical supervision. It's very much about helping people develop those reflection skills and how to help their staff to reflect as well. So yeah, I think it's really important to be able to have space for anybody to think about what's going on and what the work is, without feeling like they're being scrutinized or assessed or anything, but actually to really be able to think about it and learn. It's lovely. The level 2 certificates are done through the Skills Network, and if anyone who comes on one of our courses will receive a link to the Skills Network, and those are free courses that people can access through that link. So we encourage them to do that. We get a little bit back if we have enough people signing up to them. Okay, so I'm gonna, Alistair, do you want to talk about this, because this is sort of your world. So this is our clinical offer, but it's not funded by the opportunity area. I just wanted to tell you all about it.
Yeah, so I think just we're really mindful. It's great that the training side is, I suppose, around the preventative nature, upskilling, resourcing and supporting kind of staff, which directly has an impact for the young people that you work with. But sometimes, we need that direct support for the young people at a time when, for lots of different reasons. So actually we give that support directly into schools. We do counselling and therapy work. So therapy work in primary schools. So we work with 5 years right the way through to 18 plus, delivering one-to-one sessions or group work sessions in the school setting. And that's for a whole range of emotional and mental health issues. Some young people have been referred to other services, but actually there's a long waiting period. So it's more appropriate for schools to be able to support in the interim. And for others, we're a bought-in service that is there. So the number of secondary schools we have a presence in, and clients just change around depending on what's going on throughout the course of the year. So yeah, we've got different fixed patterns that we can work with, whether you're biasing particularly for work with a young person, or as I say, we've become we've got a few counsellors who are part of the fixtures and fittings in a few schools. And I think, when the therapists are really embedded in schools and they know the school ethos, but also are separate to the school, which a lot of the young people find helpful when talking through some of their emotional challenges that they're facing. So absolutely, it's something that we're able to offer. And we cover the whole of the kind of the areas that you guys are all coming from today to be able to do that work. So happy to explore that with you. That's a very short.
Yes, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to stop the share now.